The West really needs to start thinking hard about its policy towards China, because China is not our friend, and for some reason, we made them rich. Now, I don't know whether you're aware of this or not, but China is controlled by the Chinese Communist Party, which has given up on communism and has morphed into a kind of fascism. Now, this is the party of Mao Zedong. This is the continuous party of the terrible things that have happened in China because of communism. And now they've just abandoned it and turned into a kind of, well, again, just centrally controlled capitalist state where, I mean, billionaires just go missing in China. Companies from China are not free. People from China are not free, even when they're not in China. And like I said, for some reason, we're turning them into a rich country. I have no idea why we thought this was a good idea, but for some reason, we've done this, and we really need to have a serious think about it, because the Chinese Communist Party has a plan for China. They want to get out of the century of humiliation, and they want to be the preeminent world power once again. And they are just constantly working towards it. That's what the Belt and Road Initiative is. That's what all the investment into Africa is for raw resources. That's what everything that they're doing is geared towards. They have designs on us, and we, for some reason, are still operating as if the world is a completely neutral playing surface and everyone is just playing the same game and will do forever. And so it's not surprising that Donald Trump is constantly going on, no, we need to do something about China. I want to tariff China. I want this. I want that. Things have to happen about China. He is not wrong, because the Chinese, we have for some reason allowed them to be the place where all of the skills are. Now, this was a video that Tim Cook of Apple, talking about whether he would be interested in repatriating Apple's manufacturing to the United States. And he says, no, it's not about cheap labor, because actually the labor in China is not as cheap as you think. The problem is, China is where the skills are. The people who are manufacturing things, if they do it for like 10, 15, 20 years, they build up a set of skills. If we in the West don't manufacture these things, we lose those skills. And this is the only point that Tim Cook makes, is that, look, it's just easier to get people to work and do the things I need them to do in China. And it's like, okay, great. So we've allowed them to become rich. We've allowed them to become powerful. We've allowed them to become educated. We have done this for them. And what did we get in return? Well, we got a very, very, very suspicious state that just can't be trusted, that is not your friend, and has, like I said, designs on things going on. For example, right, the president of Taiwan, turns out a bunch of his security guards were Chinese spies. It's like, how is this possible? How are these not the most vetted people in the world, given Taiwan, it's the fact that it produces the chips that we need, and the fact that China wants it back, right? They want, I mean, Taiwan is it's been a big deal for a long time. I'm not going to go into it, but like this is just remarkable when you think about it. And it's constant, right? It is constant. They do not care about intellectual property laws. They will steal everything that they can get. And if we're stupid enough to just say, you know what, we are anti-racists, we're just going to allow as many Chinese students into our universities as possible. Right, the Americans are constantly prosecuting Chinese students for stealing information, for stealing stuff that's produced in American universities and then just sent back for free to China. It's like, these are not good faith actors. These are not trustworthy. This is not a trustworthy country. And it's not that every Chinese person is bad or something. It's that they're at the beck and call of the Chinese Communist Party, and they will force them to become spies. They will literally set up foreign police stations, that are Chinese police stations, like in Canada here, that were used to intimidate Chinese people in Canada. And so, assuming they don't already have just a general loyalty to China above Canada, the Chinese Communist Party will just bully them into it, intimidate them and say, listen, man, there's no limit to the number of people we will kill to make sure that we get what we want. And it works. We know it works because it's constantly happening. Like, huge amounts of industrial espionage. Stuff is being stolen from America and taken to China, where it is used to manufacture things that is providing the skills for Chinese workers and not American workers or British workers or French workers or whoever. And for some reason, we're just letting this go on. We're still acting as if China, and unfortunately by extension, the Chinese diaspora, are just completely normal. They're completely trustworthy. We can just have completely open borders and nothing will happen. Because again, even if the Chinese people themselves don't want to do it, the Chinese Communist Party and the international organs that they run have no scruples. They have no scruples. And so it doesn't matter how well-meaning we can assume that the Chinese people who come to the West are, they always will be in some way suspect because they will always be on this plane of existence. There's nothing we can do about it other than say, well, look, actually, Chinese students can't come to Western universities because China will keep stealing stuff from us if we do, because China is not a liberal bloody democracy. You can't trust China to not screw you, because that's the entire plan. China's entire plan, and has been for like 50 years. How can we screw the West? That's what they want. And so you just can't trust them. Like Chinese spies bugging London's pubs and park benches. Oh God, we're back in the Cold War. This is crazy. Everyone was just wandering around thinking that they could just talk freely. And it turns out, no, you can't. No, you can't just have a frivolous conversation as an MP in one of London's local pubs near the Parliament building. You can't do this, right? We are not in a time of peace. We are in a Cold War, and we're just learning that we are in a Cold War. China is a problem. We have to deal with this. Now, I would say, bite the bullet. Bring the manufacturing back. Just fiat legislate it. Just say, listen, right, we're just like, because the thing is with tariffs, you're setting up an artificial barrier that can be gotten around, right? Just legislate. You have to make anything in these industries, like these certain key industries, just legislate. They have to be made in the United States. Be like, look, you've got 6 months, then we're going to shut you down if you're not manufacturing this in this country, and we will pick a company to support, and we will give them government grants or something to get themselves off the ground to produce whatever it is that the Chinese are producing, right? Wean ourselves somehow and as quickly as possible off the Chinese teat, because then we don't have to worry about this sort of stuff, right? The concerns about, we don't want to be racist and discriminatory. Okay. How long will that go on for? Just saying, there is a genuine concern with the entire diaspora because of the nature of the Chinese Communist Party. Are we just going to do nothing about that? Are we literally hamstrung? We have our hands tied behind our back because of our liberal ideology. Again, I'm not saying every Chinese person is bad. I'm not even saying any Chinese person is bad. What I'm saying is the Chinese Communist Party will use the Chinese diaspora to get what it wants at our expense. And unfortunately, it's not nice, but we have to be real about this. We have to accept that our position in the world partially is going down because of China and because of our decisions regarding international policy and industrial policy and moral policy surrounding how we deal with Chinese immigrants. It's just one of those things we have to accept. And so another aspect is the free market. Sorry, why are we allowing a fascist state access to the free market? They aren't a free market. They are a deeply controlled market. If there are areas, and there are areas of free trade in China, that's at the pleasure of the Chinese Communist Party. The second that's not useful to them, they shut that down. Again, there are loads of billionaires. There have been several billionaires who have just gone missing in China. They just disappear. It's like, that's a bit of a concern, isn't it? Isn't that weird? Like, it's weird that the billionaires in China just disappear. Like, that's, and no one wants to talk about it. But again, they are not a free trade country. right? They do not have the same sort of rights and protections that we have in the West. And so we shouldn't really be doing business with them in the way that we do. We should know that. We should be aware of that. And we should be like, yeah, no, of course we can't do that because they're not trustworthy. And so why would we let them just buy up things, right? And this is a thing that Huawei wanted to buy our communications infrastructure, or be the company that built our communications infrastructure. And eventually, even Boris Johnson was like, yeah, no, that's probably not wise, is it? But there are loads and loads and loads and loads of companies that are either partially or entirely owned by Chinese companies. Northumbrian Water, UK Power Networks, 100%. Thames Water, Heathrow Airport, Hinkley Point C as a nuclear power site. Like, sorry, what are we doing? Why are we allowing a hostile fascist state to buy up UK power networks? I mean, that is crazy. I mean, that's all the electricity distribution infrastructure across London, the southeast of England and the east of England. So London's electric supply is owned by a Chinese company. That's crazy. And again, they're buying up our nuclear power generation. Why would we allow this? If they control these companies, they can shut them down. And finally, like, senior Labour figures are like, God, is this wise? Like, you know, are we going to allow them? And this is, of course, caused by the British steel crisis. Are we just going to allow them to just own everything that we owned previously for some reason? I mean, why are we allowing any foreign company to own any of our national infrastructure? I just don't understand it. Like, I mean, one question is, why is any of it private anyway? Why are the trains private? They're crap. They're absolutely crap. Why is the water private? We need that. Why are the electric grid? Why would we privatize that? Like, the fiber optic, is that private? Why would that be private? Like, why do we open these things up to some other agents who might not have our best interests in mind? And in fact, the best case scenario is they just want to extort us for a profit. Worst case scenario, there could be a hostile foreign actor. As they say here, Downing Street has said that this Beijing-based steel-making conglomerate has not acted in good faith. No shit, Sherlock. They're the ones who are flooding our country with cheap steel that has undercut our own native industry. Of course not acting in good faith. They're working to ruin us. Everything that China has done, in fact, since the time of Mao, right? Mao had a weird obsession without producing the British. He was constantly going on about how we can produce more steel than the British produce. Well, now, obviously they do. Obviously everyone does. Because they have won the war that they were waging against us, to which we literally did nothing and actually gave them complete access to our market and our productive capacity, and they have fucking done it. Why did we do this? Like, this is crazy. These people are not just neutral agents on the market and never have been. It's crazy that we've been like, yeah, well, I guess just come and do whatever you want. Yeah, we've made you rich, and then you can just use that money to buy our infrastructure and manufacturing. And for some reason, we're just sat here like, hoi doy, well, we're not racist. Hoi doy, oh, we're free marketeers. Like, sorry, it's not actually a good thing to be an anti-racist free marketeer when the people who are trying to ruin you use those methods to ruin you.